We set basketball back a little bit in the first half in Madison the other day. Both teams just really guarded, to be very honest. I thought both teams missed some open shots, but I thought the defensive intensity to start that game for Wisconsin and for us was at a really high level. It's always a good win to get out of Madison, the Kohl Center with a win. And then I thought that in the second half, we continued to guard, and then we just found a matchup that was very beneficial to us. We found 3 or 4 different actions to keep putting Matt in, and then Matt did what a senior should do. Made shots, scored it in a variety of ways, and then we just stayed pretty steady on the defensive side. I think we're up to 16th or 17th defensively in KenPom, but we're inching back, from the 50s. So we're continuing to grow there. Eyes set on just trying to be a top 10 team in that area. I thought Jaden Epps was spectacular. His last 4 or 5 games, hardly turning the ball over, making opportunities when they're there. He's getting the ball into the paint. He's understanding when to make reads. He made a couple great passes late, and then he just finds a way to 12 to 17 points just about every night. But now it's Nebraska, a team that we've obviously seen for the second time. It's a little different team. Bandamel and Gary, 2 guys that were prominent for them. I think they were 7-2, maybe 8-3. They had some really nice wins winning at Creighton, and they have had some injuries. I do think in some ways that they're better offensively. The Tamananga is been elite. He had one of the best first halves I've seen of any player in the Big Ten, not named Zach. He had 18 against Northwestern. He scored it in every fashion. He's an elite shooter, an elite scorer. And then we all know Derek Walker is very capable. He's getting 18 to 20 a night. We were fortunate in the first game he got in foul trouble, and I thought Dane was very good on the defensive end in that first game. But they run a lot of motion, a lot of 5 out, and we got to be dialed into their 3-point shooting and obviously Walker and Griesel's ISOs.
It seems to come up every year. Success in January comes for you and your team. Anything behind it?
I think we get settled a little bit. Role identification becomes big. I think that was huge. I think that's been bigger this year with 9 new guys. I think that the ability to, last year was a little different because we had COVID. We didn't practice at Christmas. We had a veteran team. This year, I think that's helped a lot. Is just being able to spend a lot of practice time, get guys dialed in on what we do. I think we found comfort in a few things offensively that suit us. Like I said, this is a fun group to coach. I enjoy coaching this group, and I enjoy this group is very close and has great chemistry, and it's got a lightheartedness about it that has been fun to watch them grow together. But it's I don't know, what are we on, 5 of 6 or 6 of 7? But you just take every game one at a time, Nebraska's the next one, and we've got to continue to grow defensively and keep saying defense wins championships, and you've got to guard, and we've got to build off that.
Speaking of that defense, hopefully this isn't too elementary, but why is the 2-point defense that you guys have been so successful?
I think we've got, it's understated, I think, and I think, as soon as I say something, it'll go the other way, but, I think we've been a surprisingly good shot blocking team. I think we've been able to challenge with some length. I think, you've got RJ, you've got Terrence, you've got Matt. Coleman is a well-established defender in college basketball. And then, you put Dane in there, and you've got length and you've got size, and you've got guys who are mobile. We've just kind of grown into, forcing hard twos and trying to contest. And, that's one of the things that, shooting over a little length is something that we've taken a lot of pride in.
Is there something specific with Dane that you've seen him kind of progressively just kind of get better at or get more confident as the season has gone on?
Yeah, I think Dane, the thing with Dane is that he's a pup, in terms of gaining knowledge and understanding really how to play. He's very talented, but just the finer things of being able to, he's a lot different than Kofi, in terms of, Kofi was a big guy in the middle of the third who just sealed and nobody could get around him, and Dane's a little more, where he's a little more comfortable in the mid post and off the block and does some different things, and yet he's still learning some of the intricate things of sealing and footwork and the execution piece. And then I think on the defensive side, it's not just being the biggest guy like you were in high school. You've got to actually grow, and you've got to do some things. And his length, he's got pretty good instincts. Have allowed him to be very successful in that end. He just keeps getting better game to game and practice really.
Because you've won 6 of the last 7 games, it can be easy to look past one of the weaker teams in the Big Ten. But like you said before, there's no easy games in this conference. How do you keep the guys from underestimating a team like Nebraska?
Creighton, who's really good. They beat. This is a team that is arguably had Purdue beat. It's a team that has won on the road. It's a team that, again, I try to keep every game independent of each other, of any others. But if you don't go out and play, and you don't go out defensively, and that's what I'm trying to have us build on, is the defensive side. It doesn't matter what the jersey says. We have to guard. We have to play hard. We have to get 50-50s balls. We have to get stay connected on the glass. We have to continue to grow in that area and try to do it every day in practice, so it becomes a habit no matter who we play.
So they're added length defense. I know a lot of your philosophies have been similar from last year, but how much has added length changed what you can do or what you do, or how much has that sort of changed the approach, or not changed it, I guess?
Yeah, it's no doubt it's changed some things. The fundamental things are pretty much the same. It's a little different having Coleman at the 4 and Matt at the 3, and all of a sudden you're 6'8" or 6'9", 6'10". And Terrence is a big guard. You bring RJ in at 6'6" with his length and athleticism. Ty Rogers with his length and athleticism, and we haven't had that. So in terms of our depth, Sincere, 6'4" long. We haven't had that kind of length and depth, top to bottom, and that's the biggest difference. Is we can just kind of stay with it, over the course of a game, and not lose if we go smaller or go to our bench.
I know you had credited Chester and Tim with this defensive improvement, or that they've had their hands on it. Is there anything that stands out about like just the conversations you had with those guys during that game or games you were in the 50s and kind of made the pivot away from the switch everything and into more traditionally what you have?
Yeah, I think the main thrust was playing hard. We can say all we want schematically. It was about playing hard. We went through a lull where we didn't play very hard. We played hard enough to beat Texas, and then we just hit the skids. And then there's accountability from a scouting report standpoint. And we knew we were going to be young. We knew we were going to have mistakes. But the number of mistakes we were making, most of them were caused by some of the switches we made. Now it was also good to us, but it was also very apparent that the number of mistakes was a lot of the switching. And you can switch when you get older, but it's very challenging to do that with a young team that is still learning how to talk. And so, hence a lot of the changes.
Why do you think you hit that play hard skid?
I thought we did. I wish I had that answer. I think it was maybe we thought we'd arrived. Maybe we thought we were, we won a couple games. But maybe it was lack of leadership or whatever. I thought there were a combination of things, but it was fool's gold. And then we had to get back to accountability was the main thing we had to get back to.
What are some things you want to see from Sincere as Jaden starts to take on more minutes at guard?
Yeah, just continued growth. He's a young man that spends a lot of time working on his offensive game. It's something that defensively he's going to continue to help us and impact us when he's in the game. He's a guy that got to keep shooting balls. He's got to keep understand what we do offensively, and as that role, he's going to impact us. So there's going to be some night he's going to be needed for a lot of minutes, and keeping the understanding that this thing's all about day-to-day improvement, and that's our goal with all these guys.
In the last two games, walk-on Sam Hoiberg, who's Coach Hoiberg's son, he's played significant minutes and even scored 15 in the last game against Maryland. Have there been any defensive adjustments now that he's a bigger piece in Nebraska's lineup?
Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. He shoots the cover off of it. I told Fred I watched him warm up before our game in Lincoln. I sat out there and watched him, and I think he had like 17 in a row. And very, very good shooter. He's very strong. He's unlike Fred was when Fred was a player. Fred was skinny and athletic, and Sam's really strong. But he's in a lot of action. He's a good shooter off the move. You put he and Kelsey 30, remember Taminga, I always pronounce his name wrong, but they're in constant movement. They're in a lot of actions. They're off a lot of staggers, off a lot of zooms, and they both have the ability to make those shots. And so you can't fall asleep, and they're legit three-point threats, and that combination together has been pretty good for them.
Did you know this team would be more of a block shot team instead of a rotate over and take charge team? Do you know that going into the year, or is that kind of developed?
I wish. I knew Matt, Matt's numbers. I think Matt was second in the Big 12 in block rate coming in. And, so we look at all that stuff in the analytics when we're involved with it. We've done Coleman's length. We didn't get a ton of blocks from Kofi.
Right.
He was
more out of Dane.
He was more of a wall, but Dane's given us some of that. And then RJ and Ty, just their length, ability to fly to shooter and block a jump shot. We haven't had a lot of that. I didn't foresee it. I thought we would be better, but at the level we are, I didn't. I wish I could say I foresaw that.
talked about that moment with Coleman last game. I know Matt and Terrence Holcomb had moments as leaders too. What was kind of the process over the last month to get them to that point, kind of a bigger leadership role than they've had maybe at previous times in previous years?
Well, they're all terrific human beings, and they all care, and they're all about the name on the front of the uniform. And you know, there's good teammates and there's bad teammates, and all those guys are great teammates, and they want to help everybody, and sometimes they all go about it in a different manner. But you know, when you can get those roles identified, and those roles have become that Coleman the other night in Madison was by far and away the best game he has had in terms of what I thought was leadership, and just the talk in the huddle, the talk with his teammates about, hey, you know, he sees the game like a coach, and you know, hey, the shakes are there, or you know, we got to get to the high shake, and then look inside, and just his. When it comes from me, it's one thing, but when it comes from a player, it's sometimes got a little more impact. And you know, asking him literally in a huddle, what do you like? And you know, it's you know, in a night where Terrence wasn't having a great night, got in foul trouble early, was out of rhythm, and he's staying super positive in the huddle, you know, and trying to help teammates and build on the positivity that everybody else is bringing. That's growth. You know, Matt's kind of a quiet guy that does it a little differently, but you know, those guys all have their own way of doing things, and that's helped us a bunch.
I think there's like a 12% difference in your 2-point percentage versus what you allow opponents, which is pretty high up there nationally. What does that tell you about the way you're able to maybe pair those things on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, it's something we look at a lot. You know, again, and it's you know, for us, it's we should be better offensively because we've had games where we missed a lot of layups. You know, we started the game off, missed 3 or 4 against Wisconsin, but you know, that side you're always looking for more and more and more. But you know, again, we want to challenge every shot. It's something we talk about a lot. It's something we want to contest everything. We don't leave anything uncontested. And you know, if guys are good enough to make it and shoot it over a hand, you know, you pat them on the rear end and say next time. But you know, over the consistency of 40 minutes, we want to try to force that. And you know, so far it's no different than what our philosophy's been the last couple of years, last 3 years. So year four of it. But you know, this team's just has been really good at it.
Offensively, what are some things you do to limit the struggles of the first half of the Wisconsin game?
Man, I don't look at it like that. I look at the shots we're getting, and are they good ones? Jaden missed a couple bunnies. Matt got under the rim and missed a layup. You know, RJ gets 2 or 3 just wide open threes. Matt missed 1. And all you can do is just push repeat and hope you get those shots again, and then they start to fall. And then I kind of look at, you know, how are we getting to those shots? You know, is it through great ball movement? Is it off an assist? Is it you know, isolation? That would be the only thing I would try to maybe tweak. But you know, our defense was really good, and I liked the shots we were getting. We just didn't make them, and unfortunately, you can only put them in positions to make them. You can't make them for them. And I felt great about that, and know over the course of time that we got good enough players that are going to make some shots.
RJ's been on a bit of a cold streak recently, but it seems like in each game he has some sort of moment where we see a glimpse of like explosiveness, like that dunk in the last game. So what are you looking to see from him over the last stretch of games to see more consistency out of him?
Oh, so you guys all think about offense. I don't. I think consistency is based on the defensive side, and RJ defensively has turned into probably one of the premier, if not the premier, perimeter defender, in my opinion, if in our league. does an unbelievable job getting over screens, does an unbelievable job of challenging things. He's got great length, great athleticism. We know he's going to be, he's going to get shots, he's going to make them. He's got to see a couple get in. You see that athleticism that has everybody drooling, just the, crossover, rip, dribble, boom, up over 2 guys and dunk it. That's in his package. I keep telling him he shoots 1,000 balls a day. Just keep shooting them. And, we've seen him last year, this year, in practice, go on huge runs, and it's coming for him. And, he's gonna get good looks every night. And, he's gonna jump up and make them. And when he does, everybody's gonna say, wow. But I'm not, because as long as he's guarding and doing the things that he's doing right now, he's playing really hard. I'm really pleased with RJ. Thank you.